the higher the quality of these applications. But that same data contains all the information on the search behavior of Google users. How does this impact on their privacy? Ian Brown is a member of the Open Rights Group, a UK organization aimed at protecting private information in the digital era.
I think Google's aim to make all of the public information in the world available is admirable, and I certainly use it many times a day myself. A lot of people on the internet do. I think they need to be much more careful about personal information. You know, I don't want all of my personal information made available to the UK government, for example, and that's why increasingly I am careful about how I use Google, and I certainly wouldn't use services like Google Mail, where they are storing a lot of sensitive information in my email messages, and I think I'm increasingly concerned about searching for sensitive information using Google.
Are you?
Because I wouldn't want a lifelong record in Google's vast database of, say, when I was younger, if I'd been interested in sexually transmitted diseases, which a lot of university students are, for example. That isn't something you necessarily want to live with you for the rest of your life.
How are you going to convince me to trust you?
We're clear in our privacy policy that we aren't retaining your search information because we want to, say, profile more about you. We're retaining the search information we retain, we do for quality purposes. We review it only in aggregate. We do aggregate computations to try and understand how to make searches better. So for example, if you search for football and click on result number 3, we want to use that information. So next time we take result number 3 and make it number 1. And so we have to have some retainage in that way in order to better the quality of the search experience you have on Google. So I think that, when you're asking questions of trust, a lot of times you're asking questions around motivation. The person that you're trusting, what are they motivated to do? And we've been pretty clear that our motivations in keeping the search information that we keep is, in fact, to improve end-user quality.
But does that require retaining it for an indefinite period of time? I mean, you could also retain it for like 30 days or...
Interestingly, we found that we've had some innovations that have required us to retain the information for longer than 30 days. So for example, the Google spell checker, our Did You Mean feature that appears on Google, has been built using long periods of data around someone issuing a query and then issuing another corrected query right after that, and us learning those corrections. And it actually takes more than 30 days worth of data to build the world-class spell corrector that we have.
Google aren't being careful enough, I don't think, to anonymize information they store about you. They've said publicly that they do keep records of the search terms that come from your computer, linked to the internet address of your computer, and potentially that can be linked back to you, especially if you sign up for Google services like Gmail. So I don't think that they can honestly say that the potential isn't there for them to misuse some of this information. We've seen in recent months that it's not just Google's decision either. Even if Google was the entirely pure company that they claim, you have other interested parties. For example, the US government demanded last year that Google hand over information on what people were searching for. So even if Google aren't abusing personal information, that doesn't stop other people coming in and trying to get access to that information.
How can you take fears away? This is a big brother company.
I guess I just don't agree, and I don't think of it that way.
Making all the world's information available. Why would one want to do that in the end?
Well, you can take a philosophical approach, you can take a business approach. I think if you go back in history, and if you look at every culture, every society, the availability of information has always made that society develop at a faster pace, whether it's getting them to be more innovative, whether it's getting them to be more informed and therefore, more enterprising, whether it's the feeling of sort of liberation for them. So information has always had a role in people being liberated, innovative, a more vibrant society.
I think Google's got to such a size now and it's used by so many people that it's going to have to step very carefully to avoid accusations of big brother behavior. However, in a couple of specific areas, I think it's already crossed that line. I think, for example, with freedom of expression, what they are doing in cooperating with the Chinese government in censoring the search results they give to Chinese users is very dangerous. What they are doing in terms of storing information about their users, about the kind of things that you're searching for in Google. If you're using other Google services like Google Mail or Google Calendar, then they potentially have even more information about you. And I think people are rightly very concerned about how they will make use of that information.
As an ignorant consumer, you're implicitly saying to me, trust me.
I sense that you're really trying to hammer this point through about trust me. Could I suggest to you that in the business you're in, the production of television programs, you're saying the same thing to the audience, trust me. You have every opportunity to manipulate this interview and any other, if you chose to do so, to bias it according to a particular philosophy that you have. And yet I'm sure you would tell me that your intent is not to do that you're trying to get all sides of the picture in place so that the viewer gets to decide what is true and what isn't true. It's true in all media that there is an implicit potential for that kind of bias.
I think it's really important for governments and consumers to make sure that we don't ever see a situation in which a single company like Google becomes a monopolist over the information out there on the internet in the world's libraries, because then you do get a Ministry of Truth style situation where you can control and with technology fine-tune in a way that was never before possible the reality that is presented to users. I like a phrase from a campaigner in the US called John Perry Barlow, where he said censorship is the editing of collective human consciousness. And I think that explains it well. It would be very easy to deny information to people, to manipulate their views, try to manipulate their behavior, if you could control very carefully the information they had access to. We certainly already have seen the dangers of that in Europe with the mass media. That's why we have laws on media diversity. And I think we do need to be careful that we never end up in that situation on the internet.